Good morning, everyone. I am Heather Bruce, Director of the Adult Education Program at the University of the District of Columbia. On behalf of the Office of the State Superintendent of Education and the University of the District of Columbia, we welcome you to the third and final day of our Spring 2022 Mini Professional Development Institute on the building blocks for education, training, and workforce providers, strengthening the college and career readiness aspects of your program. A warm welcome is also extended back to our co-presenters today, Danny Shearer and Kathleen O'Connell from the National College Transition Network at World Education, Inc., who we were also blessed to have on Monday. Welcome back. We thank you again today for sharing your expertise with our DC providers and partners. We want to remind you that the session this morning is part one of two on integrating career awareness into the program design and service delivery. We invite you to join us again at 2 o'clock this afternoon for part two. Though not required, we are sure you will agree that you do get more out of part two when you have attended part one, right? We are recording the sessions, so please keep your cameras off and your microphones muted until unmuting is necessary. We will also be posting the video and handouts on the OSCE website at osce.dc.gov. We also just want to take this opportunity to ask you to save on your calendars June 6th, 7th, and 8th. Those are the dates on which we have scheduled another mini professional development institute, this time on student persistence. We now hand you over to the co-presenters.
Thank you so much. And welcome everybody to Integrating Career Awareness into Program Design and Service Delivery. Again, this is part one. We are thrilled to be here again. I hope we have some of the same people that we met on Monday. So if you wouldn't mind at this point adding to the chat your name, your program, and your role. What is your role there? And then Danny and I will get around to introducing ourselves. Danny?
Great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Danny Shearer. I am the Curriculum and Professional Development Specialist at World Education and the National College Transition Network. And the National College Transition Network is a center of expertise at World Education that provides technical assistance and professional development to workforce, community college, and adult education. And prior to this, I was an adult education teacher for 11 years and also worked as a program coordinator, advisor, and coach in adult education. So great to be with you this morning.
All right, thank you, Danny. And if I haven't said it, my name is Kathleen O'Connell. I am a project coordinator at World Education. I have worked a lot in ESOL, including in workplace education, for quite a number of years, all in Massachusetts. And I came to World Education about 5 years ago. At World Ed, our mission is to advance equity through education by supporting adults, their families, and the larger community. And we do this through, again, a lot of technical expertise, professional development, and sharing. So we are going to move into a little bit of fun to get to know you a little bit better. So we've asked you to chat your program name and role, I guess, yeah. And now we're going to ask you just to kind of lighten up the mood and get people chuckling perhaps, is which sheep are you feeling this morning and why? Optional why. So for myself, even though I love you, number 3, because you're just so adorable, I would say I am feeling like sheep number 2, a little cozy and kind of settling in. So
That's
Danny,
great.
you can, yeah.
Yeah, if other people want to put into the chat which sheep you're feeling this morning, and you can say why, we'd love to know which one resonates with you. So I see someone, number 9, energetic with 3 exclamation points. Thank you.
Nice.
Audrey is number 6. Audrey, I also was going to pick number 6 because I'm kind of feeling like we have all the tools, like we have the adornments, we have the crown, the wreaths, we have the tools in place for this session. And yet I feel like number 6 is just a little hesitant, the slightest bit unsure, maybe a tiny bit camera shy. So I'm feeling number 6 a little bit this morning. Troy is feeling number 9 also, like feeling great, feeling ready to go. Marcia, number 8, ready for the day. That is, yeah, it's either ready for the day or like done with the day, number 8. This is great. No, Kenneth is number 3. So yeah, that's a winner right there, number 3.
Oh yeah, gotta love number 3.
Dana is number 2, content, just like you, Kathleen. Bianca, number 8. Beth is number 1, just looks fun, a little silly.
Yeah, I haven't heard any number 4s yet, which I guess is good.
That's for the end of the day.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Danny?
Great. All right, well, we'll go over the objectives and agenda for the day, but please feel free to keep entering your chats. So you're probably here because career awareness and career exploration, job search, and job attainment is part of what you do in your job and in your program. We know how essential this work is in terms of making sure our students and clients have access to the careers and the opportunities that are going to match up with their interests, support their families, and give them the opportunities and the financial support that they need, basically. So this session is both about the career awareness cycle, but really more importantly, it's about how to integrate career awareness and career exploration in a way that doesn't overwhelm both practitioners as well as students and clients. So how to make it more consistent and seamless with the other parts of your programming. And one of the ways that we do that is by saying that career awareness and career exploration doesn't need to wait until students are at a certain level of academic readiness or language English preparedness. We don't believe it's something that comes after. Rather, we think it's something that should happen simultaneously. So on the left-hand side, you will see our objectives. The first one is understand the career awareness cycle. You might be familiar with this, but we are going to share the cycle that we have from a resource called Integrating Career Awareness. And then we're going to focus just on phase 1, which is self-exploration. That has to do with students' interests, passions, values, needs. And then we're really going to focus on integrating, how not just to use these tools for their own purposes, but integrate them alongside academic and workplace readiness skill development, as well as integrate throughout your program. So it's not just one teacher or one advisor using these tools. And the way that we're going to do that on the right-hand side is pretty interactive. So we want to hear from you in our very first activity. What are you doing already in terms of the career awareness cycle? And what do you want to do more of? And then Kathleen and I are going to introduce some career self-exploration tools and approaches, some of which you might be using already, and talk about ways to integrate them. And then you're going to actually look at some of those activities yourself and think about how you can not just use those activities with students, but integrate them. And then we will wrap up and reflect. Just a few notes about technology. We do encourage you to raise your hand at any point you have a question and unmute. Otherwise, do remain muted when you're not speaking. We don't have any breakout rooms in this session, but we have 2 activities where you will open a new tab and do an activity first in a Jamboard. And then at the end of the session, you'll open a Google Doc. we want to note that it's possible that if you are not signed into a Google account, you might have difficulty accessing those. So we have some alternatives for you to access those or use the chat, but do sign into your Google account if you have one, and let us know if you don't. We'll give you another way to access that activity. And I think that's it for this slide. Kathleen, anything to add?
No, I think that's it. Thanks, Danny.
Okay, so what you're seeing here on your screen is what we call the career awareness cycle. This is taken from a resource called Integrating Career Awareness. So you'll see that there are 3 phases here: self-exploration, career exploration, and then number 3, career planning. So even though these are numbered and they are kind of indicating a sequence of events, we don't mean to imply that students have to go through this exactly in this way. And also we want to note that many times the work that you do in one of these phases can overlap with another. A few notes about this also, as I said, we do believe that career awareness is not something that's separate from the work that students do in their other classes and in their other work. And we also don't believe that students need to be at a certain level to be able to start this process. But what we want to hear from you now is what you're doing and what you would like to do more of. So take a look at both the 3 phases and all the bullets underneath those phases, and think about, what are you doing well in your program right now out of all these bullets? So do you do interest and passion, self-exploration? Do you do informational interviews? Do you do job fairs? Do you do exploration of job profiles? That's from number 2. Number 3, do you do decision-making and goal-setting tools? Do you do financial planning with students? So think about what you do and think about what you would like to do more of. And we're going to actually have you type those into a Jamboard. So on the next slide, Kathleen will show you what that looks like.
Okay, so this is what the Jamboard looks like, and we are sharing the link in the chat for the Jamboard. And again, the question is, what are you doing well and what do you want to do more of? So I will open the Jamboard. This is what it looks like. So when you click on it, it should open up a new tab on your computer for those of you that aren't used to doing this. I know many of you are used to that. So on the left, the question is, in looking at the career awareness cycle, what are you doing well? And on the right, what would you like to do more of? And to do that, you're going to go to the sticky note here on the left. Do you see where my cursor is? So I click on sticky note, and then I can add, I'm just going to say what I'm doing well. I'm going to say career fairs. And then I hit save, and there we go. And I can click cancel to turn it off. And then I can also move that to wherever I would like it to go. Does anyone have any questions about opening the Jamboard, or once you're in there, finding the sticky note on the left?
Kathleen, I see a bunch of people in there, so I think they're accessing it well. And then they would like you to go back to the slide with all the bullets so that they can be looking at that while they're putting in their Jamboard
Okay,
stickies.
great.
So you'll toggle back and forth just between this tab to see what you're doing well, and then the Jamboard. And if anyone has trouble accessing that Jamboard, do let us know in chat. I see 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I see 12 people in here right now. Everyone's a different animal. So I see someone's adding skills inventory. They're doing well. So if some of the other people are having trouble, just let us know.
Yeah, and if you can't get in, you can always use the chat. and add your note to the chat.
Someone else is doing skills inventory pretty well and workplace skills pretty well. You'll see that all your sticky notes start on the left-hand side. So if you want to move them into the right-hand side, just drag. Someone said they would like to do more informational interviews.
Mm.
Something somebody does well is connecting people in the community to American Job Centers. So that's something they do well. And something that they would like to do more of is career and job fairs, something they'd like to do more of, and also maybe financial and family needs. So doing that kind of work.
And I see that doing well, digital literacy, great. Values assessment, financial planning just moved. What would you like to do more of financial planning? Yeah, that's often a piece that we don't get to, right? And it's so important for people to know like what they really need to be, what they need to earn and able to be able to support their families. Financial and family.
Another person, there's three people that want to do more job fairs with employment on the spot. So that kind of like hiring as they're in the fair, which I know happens, especially these days when people really need workers. And then quite a few of this financial planning people want to do more of, more financial literacy.
That's a big need. Okay, that's great to know.
Somebody is doing digital literacy very well, which is a really important piece. So they're doing that well.
Mm-hmm. And a values assessment as well, which is very, really important.
Also, I see that two people are doing financial literacy well on the left-hand side. So the real question is, how do we connect those people with the people who said they wanted to do more of it on the right-hand side so that you can talk? All right, well, we have a lot here. I'd encourage everyone to open that Jamboard if you haven't. And Kathleen, do you want to show it for a minute for anyone who hasn't been able to access it? So you can see what all of your peers wrote.
Here we go. Can you see that?
Yep.
Great. Yeah, it's full. It's very good. Thank you so much.
Excellent. All right, and you'll have access to that on your Wakelet at any point. All right, so going back to the slides.
So, so in this session, as we said, we're going to be focusing on the first phase, the self-exploration phase. So when we think about the tools that we select to help students do this, we want to make sure that these tools are connected to the questions that students have about themselves as part of this phase of the process. So what we're asking you now is, what questions might students ask themselves in this, to explore themselves? So if you want to put that in the chat. And meanwhile, I'm going to ask Danny if she has a question, if she has an idea for a question that students might ask themselves in this phase.
Yeah, so in this self-exploration phase, I'm thinking about my students. I mean, they want to know oftentimes what skills they have that can transfer into new jobs. So, what transferable skills do I have is a question that they could ask. So I'm going to type that into the chat. And if other people have questions that students can ask at this phase, so Troy says, what are my likes, right? What are my interests? What do I like doing?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
What other questions can students ask? Add those to the chat. So David says, what are my short and long-term goals? That's excellent. Marcia says, what do you do well? What brings you joy? Where do you find the most reward? Excellent. What other questions might students have? Audrey says, how can I integrate what I already know into my new career? Exactly. And Bianca says, how do I know what career is best for me? How do I see myself? Excellent. Dana says, what if I have not worked in over 10 years? Yeah, so I'm re-entering the workforce, right? What do I need to know? What did I miss out on? You know, what digital literacy skills do I need that maybe I didn't have 10 years ago in the workplace? Troy says, am I willing to try new things? Do I want to change or do I want to remain in the same sector? Excellent. All right, well, please feel free to keep adding questions. Beth says, how does my experience in my country translate to the type of work I can do in the US? Yes, Beth, that's actually a lot of the other work that I do is internationally trained professionals and bringing their credentials over. And then how can I turn my volunteerism that I enjoy into paid work? And to that point, I think that might be Stacy, you know, how can I use my not officially job experience, but all my informal work experience, parenting, volunteering, how can I translate that into a resume and into skills that I can use to apply for a job? Beautiful. All right, we'll go to the next slide.
Yeah, these are really great questions, and I think we can capture the chat, I think, and share it with you later. Okay, so some other questions that students might have.
So you covered a lot of these. So Kathleen's going to enter some of these one by one because there's a few, I think. So what are my career interests? I definitely remember Troy saying that one. What are my transferable skills? Somebody said that, right? They said, what past experience can I use for a new job? What digital literacy skills do I have need? So that was that question about an incumbent worker, right? If I'm re-entering the workforce. What are my personal and work values, right? So somebody pointed to, you know, how do I see myself? How do I know what career is best for me? There's a lot of what brings you joy? Where do you find the most reward? Marcia asked that. And there's also, you know, what are my work values around the site of employment and how they care for their workers? And maybe I'm looking for a union job and that kind of thing. You can keep entering those. What is my work history? Somebody mentioned that. What are my educational interests if I want to maybe pursue a degree? What are my preferred working conditions, right? Especially now during COVID, what kind of working conditions will keep me safe? And then what are my financial and family needs? Excellent. All right, so we covered a lot of those. And so the tools that we're going to look at today are all in service of trying to help students answer these questions. So obviously, helping students answer these questions and doing the kind of self-assessment and reflection is a lot. It's a lot of time. It can seem overwhelming, and we know a lot of students and clients come in with specific needs and interests. Maybe that includes getting their high school equivalency. Maybe it includes, you know, completing something else. And for some of them, and for some of you all, trying to help students answer all of these questions in a meaningful way feels like it would take a lot of time, which is true. However, that's why we're focusing on integration, because we don't think that these need to be done separately of helping students achieve their other goals, such as academic readiness, workplace readiness, for example. So why we integrate career awareness, we'll go to the first bullet here, is it helps with engagement and persistence. When students know that they're their goals are being integrated into the classroom and into the curriculum, they feel more inclined to participate and engage because you're aware of what their goals are. So even if they're learning fractions, it can be done in a way that is in service of a future career readiness component. And you can simultaneously achieve academic objectives and employability skills while building self-exploration, self-knowledge, and career exploration. So those two things don't need to be done one after the other, or vice versa. And you may know this already, but this is a good reminder. Aids in a program-wide approach to student support. So sometimes our approach to, at least in my experience, to career exploration and advising is a little disjointed between one person doing this over here in a classroom, one person doing this over here. And so integration also talks to the importance of sharing tools and resources and student files between different practitioners, between teachers, advisors, coordinators, etc. And as was mentioned a few times, appropriate for students at every level, depending on what other language or academic objectives they have. And students can enter at anywhere in the phase. So we know the reality of the job market now is that students are changing jobs so often and will continue to change jobs often to be responsive to the labor market changes. So this isn't something that students have to follow a prescribed order or wait until they've gotten to a certain level on the CASAS. This is something that can happen at any level.
Okay, so we're going to talk today about 3 ways to integrate career awareness. And I think, as Danny shared earlier, some of this is based on the Integrating Career Awareness Guide, which is something that will be in your Wakelet, I believe. Your Wakelet, which is they're storing all of the resources from these workshops. So the first way to do that is something that we've been talking about as well, building academic and language objectives. So, beginning with ESOL students, for instance. And then it can also be done while developing essential workplace and personal skills. And lastly, again, throughout the program and with students at all levels. So when somebody walks into the program, that's where it starts. And we'll share a little bit more about that as we go on. So the first example I have here for integrating career awareness while building academic and language objectives is for in a class of ESOL, which is what we call it in Massachusetts. I'm not sure what you call it in Washington, D.C., but English for speakers of other languages. So here, there's several ways that you can do that. So in this case, you might look for an opportunity to add in self-exploration activities within what you're already doing, your regular curriculum. So in this example, an ESOL instructor can add to an existing unit about parenting by having students reflect on the personal qualities that they, bring to the world and how they might come into play in a workplace environment. What makes you suited for a particular kind of work. So for instance, it could be that the learner learns, I am patient, so they're learning how to make adjectives out of patience, right? Or I am patient. And then from that, you can discuss what kind of jobs, for what kind of jobs would you, would that be a good quality? Would that be a needed quality? The other way to do this, sort of the flip side of this, an instructor or coach may want to build a unit around a particular exploration theme and incorporate learning activities. You could be using the college and career readiness standards as a guide, to develop the surrounding academic skills, the reading and writing skills, for instance, or using your knowledge of what your students' needs are to build those skills. And again, the ICA guide has many examples of how you can do this. So here we're talking about, right from the start for English language learners, starting, to build in those skills. The second place to do this is integrating career awareness while developing essential workplace and personal skills. So in this example, assign students to work in teams to develop a presentation about each other's jobs, right? Which is, pretty much a classic theme that many instructors do. But be sure in this case to define teamwork and presentation skills. So being really explicit about what those are, and then have students reflect on their own teamwork and presentation skills. So, to the extent that you can be explicit about transferable skills, it's going to be very helpful, because as some of you have talked about, some learners have limited formal employment experiences, or it's been many years, or they've worked in other countries. And so helping them to identify which transferable skills they're bringing with them will help them to consider what kind of jobs they might like to pursue. It also gives them confidence, kind of building to what they consider their profile of skills. And you could also, there's so many ways to do this. We could go on and on, but you could, if this were an ESOL class, you could integrate grammar into this, and you could integrate digital skills as well, because obviously if they're the presentation skills, they're also, perhaps developing a Google slide deck and learning how to use that. So that would also be digital skills. So I think the main theme here is to be really explicit about what those skills are. In the third example, integrate career awareness through programming and with students at all levels. So in this example, the program shares the vocabulary used in student self-exploration activities with all staff to establish program-wide shared terminology. This could be a collaborative effort, my Boston accent going there, across the program, from your intake specialist to all of your teachers, for instance. So that over time, you'd want to make sure that all of your written forms, kind of use that shared program-wide terminology. And so the question is that at your programs, are you able to do this? Have you tried? And is it something that has made a difference? If you want to share in the chat. So have you been able to integrate program-wide career awareness activities, terminology, what have you?
So we're going to have an opportunity now to actually look at some of the tools that we have gathered for you to do self-exploration. So many of you asked the questions that students could have in the self-exploration phase, and we've put together some tools. You probably have your own interest inventories and kind of work values and tools to help students understand themselves better. But we've compiled a few for you that maybe you know about, maybe you don't, maybe you'll find something new. But we don't want to focus just on the tool. We want to think about how you could actually integrate it along the 3 lines that Kathleen just talked about. So ideas for actually integrating it into your program. So Kathleen, if you want to open up this Google Doc, we're going to share it with you in just a second. I have the link in the chat ready to go. And you'll see that there are 1, 2, 3, and then if you scroll down a little bit, Kathleen, a little bit more, just to show all the tools there.
Can you see this?
There you go. Okay. Yeah, scroll back up to the middle of the page. All right, so there are 6 activities here that can help students in the self-exploration phase. And what you're going to do is choose just one of these to take a look at. So you can read our little description to just choose one of them. So I'm going to go in because I have this open, and I'm going to look at the career pathway self-assessment. So Kathleen, if you want to open the career pathway self-assessment, you'll see that it is take a career pathway test. It is a short test that students can take. And if you choose this one to look at, you can actually take a look at that test. This is free. Everything in this list is free and open access. You'll take a look at that, and then you'll come back to the Google Doc. So if you go back to the Google Doc, you can write an idea. So I wrote my idea here about how I could integrate it. I said I would pre-teach the vocabulary in the career pathways assessment and do a reading activity to help students interpret the results of their assessment. So I put my name here first. Kathleen is also gonna, look at one of these resources and then make a note of how she can integrate it. And that's what we're gonna do for the next 10 minutes. So let me pop this into the chat. So everyone go over to the chat and open up that document. We'll all be in the same document. And this is why it's important. So I saw an anteater just joined, a badger just joined. That means that you're able to access this and can open it okay. If you can't, do let us know. And you're just going to put your name once you're done looking at your tool, and then you can type your idea. So it might take you a little while to choose one of these resources to look at, and then to come up with a way that you might integrate it along one of those 3 lines of academic integration, essential workplace skill integration, or how could you integrate it with your program at all levels. Those are the 3 ABC that you see highlighted in yellow. So take a look at one of these and then think through your integration. And we have some time to do this, so no rush. But don't scroll down to page 2 because that's for this afternoon. So you're only looking at page 1.
Yeah, and Danny's point about putting your name, and that's really, sort of claiming your space because, this is a shared Google Doc. So you may see that somebody else jumps in, but so put your name so that you have, great. Jasmine has put her name, great.
Kathleen, can you go back to the shared screen of the Google Doc? So we can see people typing. Do let us know if you have any questions as you're doing this. And it's okay if it takes you a little while to look at the resource before you type your integration idea. We will have until 10:49 or 10:50 to do this. So no real rush. People are coming up with some great ideas here. If you use a different tool to achieve these same objectives of career exploration and you want to type your example about that, that's fine. You don't have to be limited to what we put here. Great. I see someone is putting this great example, utilizing the skills assessment self-appraisal at the onset of enrollment. I think that's an anonymous koala, but put your name so we know who that is. We can ask you about it. Thank you, Nkosi. Got it. If anybody needs this document in another format, just let us know and we can send you a different link. Like if you need it as a Word document or a PDF, I know that Google Docs is not friendly with everybody's institutional settings on their computers. I see examples from Troy and Jamis and Shania and Anita, Dana and Beth. Thank you all. We have 3 more minutes for this. So if you're still looking at one of the tools, that's fine. Use the next 3 minutes to come up with an idea for how you would integrate it, either alongside academic objectives or while teaching workplace readiness skills. or across your program. So I see examples of people saying when they would use one of these assessments and how they would use it as part of the intake or share it with other practitioners. Okay, so one more minute to wrap up your integration idea, and then we'd love to hear from a few of you. So you can see this document has gone on to the second page a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The idea too is
Great.
that this is something that you'll have to see other people's ideas in the future. So you'll have this document to see other people's ideas. Okay, so now that it's 10:49, if you are on the Google Doc sheet, you can finish what you're writing, but then come back to the meeting so that you can see the shared screen that Kathleen will show as she leads us through a little sharing and reflection on this activity.
So we're going to stay with the Google Doc, is that right? So everyone can see what we're talking about on the big screen, and also you may have it open, or you could just stay on your Google Doc screen for the moment if you like. Yeah, so let's look at, so trying to pull from each of the three areas of integration that we've talked about. So let's look and see, so for academic skills, like how would you pull in academic skills with one of these resources? I see that Beth had some thoughts on that. Beth, would you like to unmute and share your thoughts?
Sure. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, it's a little light, but yeah.
I think with actually a lot of these, I was looking at the foundational skills self-appraisal, but if you're incorporating math, you could have students either survey each other as classmates and graph and kind of just assess the data and talk about the data, and then maybe areas that are ranked lower than others, the class can work on, how to improve those skills together.
Great. Yeah. Great. So integrating math into this, and also, by having students interview each other, right? They're sort of building their speaking skills, and also the questions, right? They would have to come up with the questions for the interviews. So there's a lot of different skills that go into that, into developing a survey and graphing. Excellent. Thank you, Beth. So now let's see about, did anyone else have have something that with academic skills that they wanted to share, an example of integrating academic skills. Do we see any hands raised, Danny? I can't see them, unfortunately.
I don't see any hands raised. If anyone else addressed academic skills, let us know, and I'm scrolling through to see, but we can move on to addressing some of those workplace skills or other ways to integrate.
Yeah. So I see here that Titch says many students do not know what they want to do, ensuring that the interest profile is done at intake. Do you want to speak about that a bit, Titch, and how you would do that, and how you would sort of talk about those interests? Titch? Okay. Let's see. So I think we had a lot of people talk about how they would integrate these across the program. Lots of great ideas here. So would someone like to volunteer to share their thoughts about how they would use this, during different phases of the program or across the program? So you can raise your hand.
I couldn't figure out how to unmute.
Oh, okay. I know you have to go back to your, yeah. You have to, yeah. You have to go back to your team screen.
Yeah. So just thinking about what we do here and what we could do better. I think just looking at, having the students to make sure that they do that on when they come in, because some of our students come in and they know that they need to do something. I may be sitting at home on mom's couch or something like that. Grandma said I need to get out, but I don't know what I want to do. So I think that having them to do that when they first come to us will be a great help to them. And then throughout the program, we're able to use some of those other resources that you have provided for us to make sure that we can narrow down that career choice for them. So that's what I was thinking with that.
Yeah, great. Right. So really kind of getting buy-in from the students by having them come up with kind of interests and goals, right? So now they have this goal for the future. So that's gonna, keep them coming back and keep them interested. And then also building that in over time, like maybe teaching about different types of careers based on what the students would have an interest in. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, excellent. Someone else, who else would like to share? Yeah, I'd like, I can't see raised hands, Danny. Am I missing any raised hands?
No.
Okay.
Not that I see.
And maybe I'll call on somebody. Nkosi, you had some interesting thoughts there about using the career interest quiz. You want to share your thoughts on that, your ideas? I think, yeah. Yeah, so to unmute, what I had to do was from your Google Doc, you're probably going to have to go back to your Teams window where the little red dot is. And that, I think, is where you're going to find your unmute button. Oh, okay. Well, if you're able to do it, go ahead and pipe up. But Nkosi was talking about using the career interest quiz right at the onset. Right when people walk in the door, and then as 3 months later, joining their course pathway. So, based on the structure of your program, you can, you decide how you would use this, but I love the idea of using something several times and then having the learner see sort of what their changes are. And also, during those 3 months, they may have built a lot of skills that will make it easier for them to actually use the career interest quiz. Something that Danny and I talked about, Danny mentioned pre-teaching vocabulary, and that's often something that students really need. And one of the reasons for building in academic skills is that some of the surveys are going to have a lot of words that people don't know, or people might think they know, but they are, not quite sure. And so pre-teaching that or doing parts of it as a group is going to be really helpful to people, even though they may not reveal that they don't know all of it, but I think that's probably the case with many of your students, that they would need that kind of background. Okay, so does anyone else have something to share before we start to wrap up here? Okay, I am going to go back to the main slide. And again, you will have this document with other people's ideas and thoughts. If you want to add to this later, feel free to do that. That would be most welcome. Okay, so and Danny and I want to thank you for being here today, and encourage you to join us this afternoon. We'll go into more detail about a couple of these resources and ways that you can use them, ways that you can build academic skills and transferable skills while using them. So we have our email addresses here, and I see that. Wait, hold on a minute to get to the full screen. They're a little bit hard to read because there's a line under it, but for instance, Danny Share is Danny_Share, so both of us, if you want to reach out. Here we have on the right, there's the integrating career awareness into the APE and ESOL classroom. That is going to be in your resources, as well as the CUNY, that's from New York State. Wonderful resource there. The Personal and Workplace Success Skills Library, which is something that Danny and I have been working on, and that's just loaded with resources. And then also the Google Doc that you all just worked on. And Danny, was there something more that you'd like to share?
Yes, please take a minute to open the SurveyMonkey link from Tracy in the chat. And it's a very, very, very quick survey to complete. It'll only take you a minute. You can do it right now. And that will help them, of course, to plan for all their future professional development. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating today. In this afternoon session, we're going to focus more on career exploration and career planning. So those two parts of the phase, and we're going to continue this work of sharing resources with you in that Google Doc and more integration ideas. So we really hope that you come back to the afternoon session. We look forward to seeing you then. And yeah, thank you so much for having us. We will make sure that all of these resources are accessible to you, and we'll see you at 2 p.m. Anything you want to add, Stacy or Dr. Bruce?
No, thank you. Please do complete the survey, and we put the link for the 2 o'clock webinar, and we hope you'll be back for that, and we'll also be sending it out as a reminder as well. Anything else, AFE team, Dr. Bruce?
No, nothing else. Just we hope they come back this afternoon.